The Supreme Court hears about anti-camping laws used against the homeless, week 2 of Trump's hush money trial, and pro-Palestinian protests at Ivy League schools that definitely aren't grappling with an antisemitism problem. But don't worry, the squad says they're mostly peaceful protests. Where have I heard that one before? That and more on this week's America Uncovered headlines. Welcome to America Uncovered, I'm Chris Chappell. Author Tracy McMillan says she calculates she has gotten $371,934.30 in her life thanks to racism, specifically as a sort of bonus for being white in America, which she argues is an inherently racist system. In an interview with CNN promoting her new book, The White Bonus, McMillan explains she received money from her family to go to college. I thought, would Grandpa have had the money if he wasn't white? Well, no. He became a banker around 1930 when across the whole United States there was 250,000 bankers and only 80 of them were black. So she's saying because she had a rich grandpa, she benefits from white privilege? I think she's confusing white privilege with rich privilege. That's more of a class issue, and the only color the rich care about is green. Also factored into McMillan's calculations are jobs and apartments she got in her life that she says she wouldn't have had if she weren't white. Now, is it just me, or does saying that only white people can get jobs, apartments, and have wealthy family members, and going to excruciating lengths to prove it mathematically, sounds kind of, I don't know, super racist? I never thought I'd say this, but I might finally agree with one of the more outlandish claims I've covered on this channel. Maybe math can be racist. After all, like I always say, it literally teaches division. Speaking of things people are divided on, guns. The Tennessee House of Representatives passed a bill that would allow trained teachers and school staff to carry concealed handguns at school. It could go into law within a few weeks. As you can imagine, this upset a lot of people. But some people are ecstatic about the bill, specifically Tennessee apple farmers, because if students know their teachers might be strapping, you're going to see a lot more apples on desks to try and get on their good side. President Biden signed a $95 billion aid package for Ukraine, Israel, and Taiwan. Also bundled into this package was a crackdown on TikTok that forces its Chinese parent company ByteDance to divest from the app within 9 months to a year, or risk having it banned on app stores in the US. Think whatever you want about the foreign aid and so-called TikTok ban, but can we agree that it's weird to have so many things bundled together like this? Imagine if restaurants worked this way. Hi, yes, I'd like to have the #1 bundle with chicken tenders, french fries, and a tire iron. Is there any way I could remove or substitute the tire iron? No? It has to come with it? Okay, then I guess I'm getting the tire iron with my lunch. The Supreme Court also heard arguments over whether or not anti-camping laws cities use against the homeless are constitutional. This case began in 2018 in Grants Pass, Oregon, when 3 homeless individuals filed a class action lawsuit trying to block laws that fined or jailed people for camping in public. And if you're wondering how homeless people were able to figure out how to file a lawsuit, I assume it's because they spent a lot of time in libraries. A 9th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals said it was a violation of the 8th Amendment's ban on cruel and unusual punishment to fine people for sleeping outside when they have nowhere else to go. Leaders in Western states say this ruling has left them unable to offer even civil citations for homeless encampments, hampering their ability to handle the issue. Maybe they can get creative and instead of calling it a fine, call it an admission fee. Instead of calling it jail time, call it sleepaway camp. Liberal Supreme Court Justice Sonia Sotomayor seemed to side with the homeless plaintiffs who argue that Grants Pass is criminalizing the status of being homeless. However, conservative justices questioned the idea of criminalizing a status, saying that it seems it's conduct that's being punished. But if there's something everyone can probably agree on, Western states have done a horrible job addressing the homeless epidemic, as I've covered a lot. You mean to tell me that decriminalizing hard drugs in Oregon didn't help people turn their lives around? And after the break, more Supreme Court craziness. Welcome back. The Supreme Court heard arguments over whether or not Donald Trump should be immune from prosecution for certain actions he took while president. As of this recording, they haven't come to a ruling. Many feel that even if the Supreme Court rejects Trump's claim of presidential immunity, he's already won. in the sense that this could possibly delay his other trials, maybe even until after the presidential election. Many are accusing Trump of dragging his feet, pursuing the presidential immunity case in an attempt to delay his other trials. And I agree, specifically about the dragging his feet part, because he's almost 78. Dragging their feet is just how old people walk. Speaking of Trump's other trials, now that the jury's been selected, Trump's so-called hush money case got underway. In their opening statement, the prosecution said Trump's actions amounted to pure election fraud, and that he tried to corrupt the 2016 election, which is terrible. I mean, could you imagine what it would be like if there was even a hint of corruption in U.S. politics? That'd be like finding out that there might be artificial colors in a 7-Eleven slushie. Everyone knows they only use locally sourced organic Mountain Dew. There's also a hearing over whether or not Trump should be held in contempt of court for violating his gag order by verbally attacking people involved with the trial in interviews and on social media. 10 times. What? Trump? Attacking people in interviews and on social media? That doesn't sound like the Donald I know. And he surely wouldn't do something like that days before opening statements.
Every legal pundit, every legal scholar said this trial is a disgrace. We have a Trump-hating judge. We have a judge who shouldn't be on this case. He's totally conflicted.
Man, Trump seems to have a lot of faith he'll get out of this legal mess just fine. And if you're wondering where he gets that faith, it's from the God Bless the USA Bible, the only Bible endorsed by President Trump, and also the only Bible with an FAQ page where one of the frequently asked questions is, what if my Bible has sticky pages? The answer? I don't know, but I assume it has something to do with freedom. President Biden marked Earth Day by unveiling $7 billion in spending on solar energy. And I think that's just great and have absolutely nothing to add. Although it is probably worth noting that not only are the batteries used in solar energy terrible for the environment, along with the panels themselves, but also there's a ton of evidence that slavery is used in the production of solar panels. Is all of that enough to offset the benefits of the green technology? Well, it's hard to say. Maybe someone can write a book on exactly how much benefit solar panels offer to the environment versus their environmental and human costs, in super specific monetary numbers. And on the topic of difficult to define costs, the Israel-Hamas war. Encampments protesting Israel's action in Gaza have sprung up at college campuses across the U.S., including Columbia, Yale, NYU, and the University of Texas, leading to mass arrests. Hey, here's a great example of people being arrested for conduct and not status when forming encampments. Who says you don't learn anything useful in college? Totally worth the hundreds of thousands of dollars in crippling student loan debt to attend online classes, since classes are now hybrid at Columbia, thanks to tension amid the protest. Yep, that'll get people on your side. And what do the politicians think of this?
It is especially important that we remember the power of young people shaping this country today, of all days, as we once again witness the leadership of those peaceful student-led protests on campuses like Columbia, Yale, Berkeley, and many others.
Yep, inspiring. Let's take a gander at some of these activities in these peaceful protests. Oh, someone's saying Hamas militants' next target should be pro-Israel Jewish students? I think AOC confused inspiring with inciting. But surely that's just one lone nut. There aren't calls for violence from a large group chanting in the streets outside Columbia University. There's no way something that super specific is happening. Ugh. Amidst all this chaos, a rabbi associated with Columbia University's Orthodox Union Jewish Learning Initiative urged Jewish students to go back to their homes and stay there, saying it wasn't safe for them on campus. Of course, even this advice might just make tensions worse, as the pro-Palestinian protesters might start a never-ending argument over just whose home it is and who was there first. Both Democrats and Republicans condemned the anti-Semitic elements of these protests, including protesters glorifying Hamas's killing of Israeli civilians on October 7th. Even President Biden chimed in.
I condemn the anti-Semitic protests. That's why I've set up a program to deal with that. I also condemn those who don't understand what's going on with the Palestinians.
I agree with him here. The Israel-Hamas war is a very complicated situation that requires an incredible amount of nuance to properly address. Or you could just scribble a call to violence on a piece of paper. Sure, that's just as likely to help the Palestinian people. But that's just my 2 cents, or since I'm white, my $371,934.30. And speaking of horrible regimes no one should ever root for, China. I created Communist China in the game Dwarf Fortress on my other channel, Gamers Unbeaten. And however horrifying you think that turned out, it was actually worse. Check it out. An America Uncovered wouldn't exist without your support. Click that orange button to support us on Patreon. All it takes is $1 an episode, and you can set a monthly limit. Looking at Chris Chappell. See you next time.